Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel and another episode of Dump and Chase. We have tons to talk about today because, yeah, there's been a lot of problems with either my software or the cord not connecting. Either way, it is unacceptable, and we are back to talking about hockey. So I appreciate you joining me for what should be another fun episode of Dump and Chase. We have lots to talk about, from John Totorella coming in for Vegas to Bruce Cassidy being fired, the Toronto Maple Leafs, and whatever is going on there, and Keith Pelly's comments. We'll get into all of that. And of course, a couple of other things. Martone making his NHL debut, and some other pieces of news along the way. But if you have not already, make sure you go like, subscribe, ring that bell, and comment. I want to hear what all of you have to say about the NHL and kind of what's been going on the last bit. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into the video. Okay, and to start off with news that, yeah, we kind of already know about, and it's Bruce Cassidy being fired from the Vegas Golden Knights. John Totorella steps in at the time with 8 games left in the season. Kind of crazy how that one transpired, and yet they win 4-2 against the Vancouver Canucks. It was a good showing for John Tortorella's first game at the helm, but this was definitely a firing nobody really expected, I guess. There was some inklings, I guess, that you could say, yeah, I mean, Bruce Cassidy, it has not been a good year for Vegas or him or the team overall. When Vegas is in a playoff spot but not doing good, there's winning, and then there's winning. And Vegas wants to be up here rather than just at what the bare minimum is for them. We've seen that through the years with the trades that they made, the firings, the hirings, everything that they've done, and this is just the epitome of that. Now, I think there are some positives and negatives. If you saw my video that I did on the hiring, you can go check that on my Instagram, TikTok, whatever, or even my YouTube, as you are right here, right now. I talked about the positives and negatives for either side. And we'll go into Bruce Cassidy first and what this means for him. Like, he was a good coach in Vegas, to be honest. This was not really like his time in Vegas was pretty bad. No, he spent pretty much about 4 seasons there. 179 wins over 321 games, a 625 winning percentage. This wasn't when he was in Vegas, but had a Jack Adams under his belt. And then, of course, he won a cup with them in their first year. Stanley Cup champions. They went 22-16-6 that year. They were dominant. They were so good. And what Bruce Cassidy really brought was this. It was somewhat calming. Like, he was hard on his players behind the scenes. Like, it's not like you're going from a guy who was so easy on them to John Totorella, who we know what he is like. No, this is a guy who presented well, was good with the media, brought pretty good structure, honestly. But even when they won the cup, and Elliot Friedman talked about this as well, like, this was a known thing where he did have his fights with players. Even when they were winning, he was hard on them. He expected good out of them. And, you can say what you want about a coach like that. Maybe it was wearing on the guys, and this was just the season that did it. Or, just like what we've seen a lot in the West this year, especially with the wild card, which we will get to a little bit, is it hasn't been exactly competitive. Like, there are a handful, I want to say at least 6 teams, maybe, that are fighting for that second wildcard spot right now, because Utah kind of has a little bit of room between where the for us first team is, which is them, to the second. But yeah, is it that, or is it the latter, right? Is it a bad year and they'll come back, or is this just a bad year and they needed a change? Well, Kelly McCrimmon and company decided that it was time for a change, and Bruce Cassidy went out. Now, I don't really like this move, one, because I think Bruce Cassidy is a good coach. I think this is one of those years for Vegas where it just hasn't went well. They've had to deal with a lot of stuff, and it's also been a year where things, for some guys, it just hasn't worked out. Like Rasmus Anderson, he hasn't been a massively good fit in Vegas, and they gave up a lot for him. Adin Hill has a sub-870 save percentage, and you can say what you want about that, whether that means the defense not coming up clutch or people not scoring, but you can't win with that. He hasn't been solid or consistently solid in net for a long period of time compared to what we've seen in the past. Vegas just hasn't been that this year. Now, when we look at other years with the same guy in Adin Hill behind the helm, whether he's been bad or not in the lineup because he's been hurt, outside of this year, they've still been pretty good. Like a 547 winning percentage is still solid. Like 33, 26, and 16 at 82 points is not going to get you into the playoffs in the East, but somehow has you third in your division. It says a lot about how bad and just not good the West has been, specifically the Pacific, but it's enough to get you there. And I think at the end of the day, I think there should have been some leeway for Bruce Cassidy, considering that he got them a cup, considering that they've been pretty good all year. Now, outside of how they showed in that Edmonton series last year, I think you could probably have that conversation of saying, okay, maybe that was the start to the end for him. But at the same time, right, like this is various other factors that are going on. Like this is a little different from different coach firings. Either way, I'm not a massive... I don't really like the move for them firing Bruce Cassidy and bringing in John Totorella. If you know me, I'm not a massive fan of John Totorella and his coaching, but, you know, this is where we're at. John Totorella, what he does is he can bring a spark, right? Like, he is a hard-nosed coach who expects people to lay it on the line, hit, block, and just give an effort, which I think is pretty admirable for a coach. Like I think John Totorella as a person is a pretty good dude. I think what we've seen from him through his times with animal work and how he speaks, he's a good dude. But when it comes to hockey, he has a different perspective. Very fair, okay? And what we've seen from him recently, granted the teams haven't been great, not exactly amazing, to be honest. It just hasn't been good. It hasn't been very successful for him. And that goes back to his time in Columbus, where he was for a while, his time in Philly. And ever since, really, he won a cup, it just hasn't been insanely good. Like, it's been good, I guess, from some other teams to certain teams, depending on where you want to look. But, yeah, like, he was never my favorite. He wouldn't be a coach that I would probably, want to play under, and I think that's where it comes from. But at the same time, that doesn't make him a bad coach in other people's eyes and a bad hire. I think I think when you look at this for the Vegas Golden Knights, you're trying to get energy out of this. You're trying to switch things up. This team can be better than what they are, and John Totorella can get them there. Now, this is a boom or bust hire, in my opinion, right? Like, this can either go really good or really bad. There is no in between right here. So for the Vegas Golden Knights, who have won, who are a considerable Vegas or veteran team, they know what to do, and this might be that push. They got their win. Hopefully, maybe this is back on track for them, and they're a lot better. But again, you do have to kind of weigh that balance and know where you're coming at from here with Vegas, Kelly McCrimmon, and company. Right, like this is not easy. This is not easy to explain. And even when John Totorella came into this, and his comments, he was a little surprised. And when Kelly McCrimmon talked about it, he said, I think somewhere along the way we lost our spirit and lost our energy in the game. We just felt that we needed to bring in a different person to lead our team at this time. Now, with 8 games left in the season, right before playoffs, which they will probably make, I don't see them dropping out, that is pretty much unheard of in this world for hockey, at least of recent. It's crazy that you would even talk about this. And McCrimmon even mentioned, when we're on our best, we play hard, we play fast, we get teams out early. I think that lines up with John's philosophy as a coach. I would agree. Even John Totorella said when he started, he mentioned, I think from the games that I've watched, I want the team to be faster. And I think that's true, right? The Vegas Golden Knights have kind of missed that speed, that tenacity that they play with, right? Vegas is usually one of those teams. They're good defensively, but they're also run and gun. They can beat you on the wall. They can make things happen. They can be pests, right? Like, we've seen what guys that they have on their team, like their third and fourth lines can really cause you trouble. And that's not even talking about their top 6, where Ivan Barbashev, he's a hard-nosed guy who will go in the corner, right? Jack Eichel sometimes shows that snarl. Mark Stone, he's a gamer. Even on that back end, we haven't talked about a guy like Braden McNabb, who's probably going to be John Tortorella's favorite player, considering how much he does in terms of blocking and defensive play, right? But again, we touched on this before. You need good goaltending, right? So, again, I spent a lot of time talking about this, but this is so important to harp on specifically because the Vegas Golden Knights are only going to be as good as the product that they put on the ice, right? Like, John Totorella can only do so much. As much as I may disagree with the guy in how he does things, he has had success, but he can only do so much until it's just, the same thing. It's that buzz line. So we'll see how this one goes along. But at the end of the day, Am I a massive fan of it? No, I think Bruce Cassidy probably should have given a little bit more leash, considering that he's a good coach. He's won them a cup, and this is like the first time that they've had okay success, maybe. Like, let's be honest, like the Knights are still winning here. It's not like they're terrible. So it is what it is. But again, John Totorella can provide that spark. That's just the type of coach he is. But again, boom and bust. But going to one thing here specifically is the longest tenured coaches in the NHL. We don't see a long leeway here. Like Bruce Cassidy was in his, what I want to say it was his fourth year. I made this post. John Cooper, Jared Bednar, Ron Brind'Amour, pretty much the longest coaches, and it drops off after that to guys like Martin St. Louis and Paul Maurice, who've only been there for about 4 years. So Bruce Cassidy would have been like right there. You talk about Spencer Carberry, Andrew Burnett, Ryan Huska, Chris Knobloch, John Hines. A lot of people talked about Tourney in Utah and how that kind of goes over. I just made a difference with that because they're two different franchises. But again, I think you could make that talk about how one is a little bit different from the other, and they should be the same, or they should be the same. I can see both sides, right? So, but the biggest thing to take away here is you don't see a lot of coaches staying for a long time. Like, we're not far away from a guy named Craig Berube, who was hired not too long ago for the Toronto Maple Leafs, probably going to be fired. We'll see, and we'll get into Keith Pelly's comments very soon here. But, he pretty much just said the next hockey ops guy, which they probably should have had a president of hockey ops before, or the GM, whoever it's going to be, is going to make that decision. Usually it's their guy who they're going to bring in. And if their guy isn't Craig Berube, usually not the guy who's already there, probably going to be out. Is Craig Berube a bad coach? No. But has he maybe lost the room a bit? I think you could have that conversation. But yeah, I think that this graphic really does show how little we see coaches actually stay around. Like, Paul Maurice is probably going to be around for a decently long time in Florida, as long as they keep winning, which I expect them to keep doing that for a while. Like, they're probably going to get a top 10 pick here in the draft, which is nuts. I like Carberry as a coach. I think he's probably going to be there for a while. Brunette is walking a line. He has been for a while. Huska's fine. Knobloch, I think if they really do come up short this year, he might be gone. And then John Hines, I think you'd have that conversation. I have a lot of Minnesota Wild fans that talk to me about him and how they kind of like him, but they really don't. It's a slippery slope for them and the fans. So for him and the fans, excuse me. So I just wanted to bring this up quickly because it's a cool exercise to look at. Like, considering how long John Cooper's been there and he just got an extension again, like, he's going to be there for probably 15 plus years. What that means, it's another year onto that, so 16 or more. Like, he's a good coach, and he's been successful. Same as Jared Bednar, same as Rod Brind'Amour. I do wonder how long Brind'Amour has until, like, kind of things start to, snap, considering that Carolina really hasn't gotten to the dance, that being the Stanley Cup final yet, and has just continued to kind of flounder, if you want to say that. We'll see how it goes, but interesting. And speaking of interesting, the Toronto Maple Leafs, they went 5-4 against the Anaheim Ducks. Max Domi shows up and goes and beats the wheels off Radko Gudas, who admirably, again, still not a fan of what he did. I think that he's done it a couple times, but he said, I'm hurt, but I'm going to play. I got to face the noise. He did. He went on there. He didn't really try in that fight at all. He took his punches. He took a decent amount of beatings. Pizzetta even wanted a piece from him. A couple of guys got their licks and hits on him. Shout out to him because he did take it, and he did own up to it, and he could have just as easily sat out of that game. But I think a lot of players, and I think that's one thing that fans, and sometimes even I, lose is, guys don't want to miss games, but they also know that if he's not going to, or if I'm not going to play tonight, it's going to come. It's coming, right? You're just delaying the inevitable. So for Radko Gudas, shout out to him, for playing hurt in this game and actually owning up to it. I think the Leafs, for probably at least a little further now, maybe next year and a bit more. I think Matthews is going to probably want to get his lick on Gudas too next time they face off. But yeah, like they're going to play it hard, and I think that's one thing the Leafs were missing. It's like, where was this? This was something that Craig Berube had preached for pretty much the whole season. Like where was this the whole time, right? Like he's been talking about, it doesn't matter if something has to happen. You need to do it now, right? Like this is not a situational basis for when the Leafs are really going to be that hard-nosed, punch-you-in-the-face team. Like, it's not that you have to go out and fight someone all the time. It's that you just have to play with that edge, cause problems, make something happen. If something does happen, show up to it. It doesn't matter who it is. Everyone eats mentality. You go in there, someone gets hurt, I don't care if you're a starter or not, you got to step up. It doesn't matter. You don't have to go and throw a punch, but go and show that you care, right? I think that's been one thing that's been missed by the Leafs. And this is also one thing that Keith Pelly, who is the CEO of MLSE, which is Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, if you're not familiar with that, that is the kind of group or anything, however we want to say it, that owns the Toronto Maple Leafs, among a bunch of other franchises, some that are hockey, a lot that are not hockey. So, he spoke about this and how the firing of Brad Treliving, which, if I'm going to be honest, I hadn't talked about yet. I never liked the hiring of Treliving. I didn't like what I saw from pretty much towards and the middle of his time in Calgary. I didn't like his decisions, the trades he was making, how he was handling things. It just seemed bad. Like it was never solid to me. It was never good. And yeah, I mean, like I don't like to see people lose their jobs. Of course, like it sucks. That is the industry. And it's probably tough for him, but I never liked him as a GM. I was never a fan of that hiring. I felt that they were better ones. And Keith Pelly obviously is not going to throw him under the bus and say that, but he kind of just mentioned a couple of things in this one. Like he says, this will be the most important decision I will make during my MLSE tenure, when talking about the leadership and the hockey operations side. Now, to why the Maple Leafs didn't go and have a hockey ops guy above Brad Treliving and make something happen, I'll never get that. I thought that was always something that had to happen. But yeah, like they never did it. It was pretty much Keith Pelly, Brad Treliving, Craig Berube. I didn't like that. And maybe it was his first season. He was trying to get a feel out for things, or maybe he really trusted them. But it was just not good. And, he kind of goes a little bit more into it. I don't believe that the current state of the team rests entirely on Brad's shoulders, but after analysis throughout the entire year, including countless conversations with key personnel and hockey observers, I made the decision, supported by ownership, that the team must chart a new course under different leadership to achieve our ultimate championship goal. Now, he is right in saying that's not all under Brad. Like, guys do have to play. They do have to show up. We didn't see that from them this year, but I think that also talks to you about, one, how the team was being put out there, and some of it falls on Craig Berube, fair enough. But it also tells you the types of trades that they made. And I think a lot of people made good points about the Brandon Carlo trade. It's very easy to put this on a guy like Brad Treliving. He made the call in the last hour. Somehow didn't get top 10 protection. Well, originally it was a first and a little bit. Then they wanted Fraser Minton, and they had all of the pressure on Brad Treliving to either make this move or not, because they don't need to do it because Brandon Carlo had term. But it really did look like that they just walked into this one and said, we need a right-handed defenseman. This guy's right-handed defenseman. Is he good? Nah, it doesn't matter. I don't hate Brandon Carlo. I actually don't think he's a terrible fit, but he's not a great fit. And to give up that much, and how this is all worked out is it sucks, right? Like if you're a Leafs fan, a first that genuinely could just fall at 6 or 7, and you don't have it, and you know what? Maybe you get rid of it, but that's a decent player to give up. You give up Fraser Minton, who has also been really good this year. That's another prospect to give up. And you give it to the Boston Bruins, which is a team in your division, not exactly great. That sucks. Yeah. It is what it is. But Brad Treliving made that decision. He made the decision to put himself in a tough position to fill in a spot that he thought he needed, but maybe not with the exact guy they were looking for. So can you blame it all on Brad Treliving? Yes and no. But there are some situations and instances where he put himself in a bad position. All trades weren't that bad, but that trade might go down as one of the worst ones in the 20s. And it's really hard to stomach if you're a Leafs fan. Now, Pelly said, let's not get away with that right now when we're talking about, the pointed comments from those who believed the Hawk-related decisions that went on in January 2024. He pretty much just said, I'm not here to be a coach, a scout, or anyone. I'm just here to pretty much put the vision in place, set the pillars, and do everything. To me, that's not how it looks from the outside. I don't think that's how it looks to fans. It feels like you've been involved a little bit more than anything. And he's trying to push this vision now of a data-centric GM candidate. You kind of already had that in Kyle Dubas. Fired him. That wasn't him, but you got rid of him, and now he's flourishing in Pittsburgh. Again, easy thing that you can point out and say the Leafs did this again. That's just how it works out. That's what it is. But again, it's just funny how you go from one thing to the other. If you're not in the know with this, MLS soccer, if you're not aware, if you don't watch it, Toronto FC, they've really taken that data-centric side. He's pretty involved on that side of the ball, no pun intended. But when it comes to something like this, now he's trying to take that and put it into hockey, right? He says it's a pretty simple vision, and that is to win. That's the objective. The strategy is to do something that you can develop and that you need to have a strategy aligned with everybody in the organization. And then the tactics come into play once you actually have somebody in charge of hockey operations. It just all can't happen simultaneously. Yeah, well, that's something that you kind of noticed after that 1 year. But yeah, in terms of people who can come around for the Maple Leafs, one of them was going to be Jim Neal. I really would have hoped that he would have been available, but he signs a 2-year contract extension to stay with the Dallas Stars. He would have been up in this upcoming summer. That would have been a very ideal GM or president of hockey ops for them. Now, Brandon Pridham, who's already inside the organization, he is a good pick as well. He's a stats whiz. He's a cap whiz. And he knows what to do in those certain situations. He was a really good piece to have around that Kyle Dubas era where he was making savvy moves and trying to make everything work. Now, did all of them work? No, of course not. But it is what it is. Again, and there are other guys that you could probably talk about who could be the next GM for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Some people are saying Chris Pronger, Doug Armstrong, who's going to be taking a president of hockey ops role for the St. Louis Blues next year after leaving that role off to Steen, who's going to be the next GM of the Blues. There are a couple of other guys that you could probably look for. There are a ton of names, right? I'm not going to go through all of them right now. But yeah, the Leafs do have options. It's just more of who's going to fit that, right? I feel like you could have that data-centric guy, whoever that is going to be, pair that with someone who knows the business. Again, fit that all in one. And then if their coach is Craig Berube, if it's not, you have to figure that one out. That's going to be one that you kind of need to see what's going to happen. Now, enough this Leafs talk. Let's get into one other thing. Porter Martone. I wasn't able to watch it live, but he played his first NHL game. Didn't get any points. Had 2 shots. Didn't look terrible. It was fine. But yeah, he comes in here after having 50 points, 25 goals, 25 assists in 35 games for Michigan State. Exciting times for the Philadelphia Flyers, who, if you didn't watch my most recent video, which is out right now, I talk about 3 of the teams who are making pretty big waves right now in the NHL. One of them being the Flyers, who are 2 points out of a playoff spot, along with the Red Wings, who are falling hard. Very hard. This month of March has been bad for them. And the Ottawa Senators, who are also fighting, they've been pretty good in their last 10, 6-3-1, but they have a tough loss against the Panthers. And then, of course, Columbus is pretty much buzzing. They've been very decent over the last 10, but still up there. They had a good time. And then there's the Bruins, who take over or have pretty much taken over the first wild card spot. Add a guy in Porter Martone, a highly touted prospect to your lineup, it's going to look pretty good. Now, shout out to the Flyers who won. Trevor Zegras has looked very good this season. He has 60 points. Travis Konechny, he has 65. They're leading the Flyers by a heavy margin. Now, this isn't a team that scores a ton. They have a -5 goal differential and have 220 goals compared to a lot of other teams who are better. But, they are in the hunt. They are only 2 points out. They have a game in hand on the Jackets, but the Sens and the Wings do as well. There's a couple of things to keep in mind here for the Flyers and what they could do. But the fact that they have themselves in this position, the fact that they put themselves in this position being 13-5-2 in their last 20 games, that is impressive, right? That is a good spot to be in, that they've fought this way back. Shout out to Rick Tocchet and company who've put themselves there and have gotten themselves to this position. But yeah, to add a young, highly touted prospect, to have all these guys buzzing, to be in the spot in a playoff race, that gives guys energy, that gives more want, especially for a franchise that really hasn't seen a lot of success or good news recently. And we're going all the way back to Cutter Gauthier and that whole situation. So for a team that's been rebuilding, that's had their ups and downs, this is a welcomed sight for sure. Now, a different thing. I did, about a week ago, I did my NHL draft rankings. And I'm going to go through these quickly. But, nothing too crazy. McKenna, Stenberg, Veerhoff. That's been pretty consistent throughout the whole year. At one point, I did have Stenberg above McKenna. But I think this will probably stay the same for the most part. Albert Smith's a pretty big defenseman, very good. I like his game. Some people have compared him to a guy in Mo Seider. I don't know if I would go that far, but could be a pretty good guy, defenseman. He's mobile, looked good in the Olympics and the World Juniors. For the situation he was put in, I like it. Chase Reed, he has really pushed himself up in these rankings throughout the whole year. His time in Sioux, when he was playing at the World Juniors, obviously, and a guy in Cole Hudson was going to outshine him, but he still was able to carry a lot of that load, considering the USA didn't really go that far. In some certain situations. Kellen Malhotra, he's really shot up. He has played a nice and consistent role for the Bulldogs in Brantford, and I really do like what I've seen from him. Now, is he going to be that top-line first elite center? No, but I think you could see him as a pretty solid 2C. Carson Karls, again, another left-handed defenseman who's looked pretty good, has some size, 194, 6'2", has some offensive upside to his game. I think you have to like what you've seen. Vigio Bjork, a lot of people maybe aren't as high on him as myself or other people, but he really has looked good in the SHL this year, especially at his size, 5'10", 172. At one point, I don't know if he finished the season like this, but he was centering the first line, and he was playing some big role minutes at the World Juniors as well in that gold medal win. I really liked what I saw from him. A couple of other names, Tyler Lawrence, he's fallen a bit. His time at BU wasn't exactly solid, but I would assume he's going to return there next year, be a little bit more acclimated, just like how a couple of other guys had to adjust. He didn't really get that full season because he came over from Muskegon, so we'll see how that one goes. Daxton Rudolph, he's kind of really been, for me at least, between 7 to 12 there. Good right-handed defenseman, a little bit on the bigger side, a little mobile, has some offensive upside, but isn't as good as the guys that I said above. Ethan Belchez, I actually went around this in a couple of the comments. Some people were talking about this of how he could probably go in the top 10 and has earned that, and I'm not going to say that he hasn't. I do think he is a good player. But his production definitely went down. He could be a physical, big dude. He's 6'5", 227. He's a winger. It dropped off a bit, which was disappointing, 59 points in 57 games. You're hoping for more out of a guy in a draft year. But you've also seen what he can do, the upside on that. So I don't mind it if someone's going to pick him in the top 10. If he gets in the top 10, I'm not surprised. But again, there's a lot of defensemen here. Those don't grow on trees, especially when it comes to right-handed defensemen. Daxton Rudolph's going to be up there. Keaton Veerhoff and Chase Reed could go very high considering that. So just keep an eye on that. Adam Novolti, he's been pretty good, or at least not bad so far in Peterborough, at least in the playoffs. Good winger. Oliver Savanto, I really liked what I saw from him in the World Juniors. I think he could be I don't know if he's going to be a top 6 second-line center, but at worst, I could see him being a very, very solid third-line guy. But again, has a little bit more of the upside to be a little higher. We'll see how it goes. There's a couple of other ones like Ryan Lynn. I think he's dropped a bit, but still could be a good lower first-round pick. Liam Ruck. A lot of people, like, where's Marcus Ruck? Well, Liam's a bit better than him. I think that he's more well-rounded. But again, if you want to take one brother, you can maybe go take the other. We'll see how that one goes. There isn't anyone that sticks out big time to me. Like, Ryan Rubrick has fallen a lot in this one, considering injuries and everything else. It hasn't been that good. But again, another guy there who could be a very good late round pick, Tomas Sharenko. I really like him. He's a guy who I think could be a very good middle six center. I don't know about the upside on the top 6, but again, another guy at worst could be a third-line guy. I really liked what I saw from him in his time in the World Juniors. But yeah, he's so interesting. It's not about him being totally dynamic. It's more of just you like what you're seeing. You like the progress that you're getting. So especially for a guy in the late first round, I think that's actually a pretty nice pick. And then there's nothing really crazy different here from other draft boards, going from 33 to 40. Jackson Cover, he is a physical guy. We've seen like Adam Valentini, he's kind of hovered around this place. Lars Steiner, maybe a little bit higher than some people have put him, same as Adam Nemec. But there's lots to like about each one of these guys. I don't hate it. I don't love it when it comes to the end of the first, early second. But again, like, it's not like there isn't talent here. These guys are good. It's just about, I guess, what you are looking for, I guess, at this spot. But yeah, that is the last thing that I wanted to talk about for this podcast. If you have not already, make sure you go like, subscribe, ring that bell, and comment. I want to hear what all of you have to say when it comes to the last bit of hockey. And again, apologies for that. I don't know why, but the technology when it comes to something like this is just a little finicky lately. But of course, until next time, my name is Zach Staden, and we'll be talking soon.